We're starting our Global Chamber Los Angeles chapter event, and I'd like to introduce Jeffery Daar, who's our board chair. He's an extraordinary attorney, does so much international, has worked in well over 30 countries. He just was a key leader for the California Mediation Week. So would love to hear how that went. People from all over the world centered around California on the topic of the law and mediation and all things related to that. Jeff, thanks for all that you do, your leadership within the region on international business issues. Would you like to kick us off, and then we'll do a little bit of a roundtable. We've got a few people who are ready to speak, and then hopefully we'll be able to get to all the members in the room. Sure. Please, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Doug. So first of all, I know a number of you, but not everybody. So just real brief about myself. So my name is Jeff Daar. I'm based in Los Angeles, been a lawyer for, close to 40 years. I'll be 40 years later this year. A large part of my practice has focused on cross-border transactions, including dispute avoidance, and making international transactions work. And so that's a large part of my space, and I closely work with lawyers in literally close to 40 different countries on a regular basis. So if anyone ever has issues of, what happens if you have an agreement with somebody or a dispute, that's sort of my particular specialty. But then I have a regular domestic practice, and I act as outside general counsel for a lot of companies, and I've done a lot of logistic companies. I've represented freight forwarders, you name it, I probably have done it. Having said that, first, we're living in incredible times at the moment. That goes without saying. I don't know if Global Chamber is going to ever, need to take or will take or should take a position on what's happening. But, the challenges of what's going on isn't just going to be limited to Europe. It's going to be Asia. It's going to be everywhere. We're going to see this without question for some time. And, hopefully the rule of law ends up prevailing in a meaningful way. But I think we're all going to see definite effect to our businesses. That's anything international with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. As Doug mentioned, we are putting together a good size advisory board. If you're interested in being involved with the advisory board, and we want people who be proactive, so no interest, frankly, and nor should anyone here, just being a seat. We're looking for people who want to participate and help us organize our region. Those things will include outreach, recruiting of new members. I would like to have us schedule some in-person events so that we can get to know each other, and also as providing a benefit to members, and hopefully making them fun. Gotta have fun in life, right? So let's make this work on all levels. Also, I'd like to sit here and see us do some consular. Los Angeles has more than 100 different consul corps. We had like the largest, I think second largest in the United States of consul corps. And someone here may know the numbers better, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And so, that's a real resource and tool for us to take advantage of. I'd like to see us consider doing that. And so the advisory board, we're going to have a meeting just of advisory board people, April 26th. If you're interested, please reach out to myself. I'll put it in the chat in a moment, my email. Feel free to contact me anytime, or contact Doug. And we have a number of people, but we're looking for people who really want to get involved. So if that sounds like something you're interested in or want to explore with us before you commit to anything, just do so. I'm real easy, so I'm always open door for everybody. And then last, sorry to Doug to correct you a little bit. So what we just had was the inaugural, and it'll be annual event, California International Arbitration Week. Nothing to do with mediation, really. Global Chamber was one of our sponsors, which was great. The event has a website of its own. You should have seen registration information. Basically, we had over 100 stellar speakers from around the world. We had all the leading providers, both domestically and internationally, present really top-rate programs. And for those of you who don't know the short 101 of why international arbitration is relevant for everybody who does cross-border business of any kind, basically, if you don't have an international arbitration agreement, your default for any disputes or what may avoid disputes, because people may feel that they'll be held accountable, would be courts. And if you have court judgments arising from a proceeding in one country and have to go figure out how to get that judgment to be recognized and enforced in another country where someone's assets may be, and they'll know this, of course, when everyone's doing their deal. There's no treaties for the United States, and so it's very unpredictable as to what would happen. And it's one of my practice specialties. On the other hand, since the mid-1950s, there's been an international treaty called the New York Convention, which basically every country that you would ever do business with, but for countries like North Korea and Chad, technically Taiwan, but Taiwan follows the convention, there's a agreed upon set of criteria for when arbitration awards, which is like the judgment of international arbitration, would be recognized and enforced. So it's very high predictability, putting aside lower costs. And that was what California International Arbitration Week, which Global Chamber was a sponsor of, was all about. The reason why I'm going into a little detail, because it's just such a key part of any cross-border business and knowing of, even if you're just a deal maker or advising deal makers, because it's really the glue that will make a deal work or not potentially. That program's website does have on it, if you register, I could put the link on for that. I think you can still register. All the programs were recorded pretty much, and they're available for watching for the next approximate 30 days. And there are incredible programs at all levels of sophistication on disputes when it comes to international business. So that's the reason why it was such a big deal. And this is the beginning of the annual event. And we had people from, I'm going to have a count of countries shortly, but I will predict over 30 different countries. We had people who were participating. I know I had a lot of contact with people from places you wouldn't think of, like Venezuela, all over every continent. And we had over 1,200 registrations, which is for an inaugural event, pretty amazing. And it was a global event, and it was really important that Global Chamber was prominently listed as a non-monetary sponsor. So I'll put that all up in the chat in a moment. And then basically just reach out to Doug or myself. And if you're interested or want to learn more about what it would mean to be on the advisory board. Sorry, phone here. And then other than that, I look forward to connecting more with people, and let's develop our own active global chamber region here and get more people involved and make us relevant and make us have value to everybody, including all of us. That's
fantastic. Was that London Calling by The Clash as your ringtone? That's
been my ringtone since I ever had since I had a BlackBerry. I had the old original BlackBerry. So that's been my ringtone for, and that's a hint. One of my passions is all types of music. So it's a fitting one.
Okay, interesting, because that was.
So that's my ringtone. It's been my ringtone at every cell phone I've ever had.
that whole group, whether The Clash, Elvis Costello, the Specials, that whole group, that was kind of my musical awakening period of time. So I'm very particularly interested in that. So very, very cool. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff before we move on?
I'll just throw out, because I am very into all types of music. So there is a Ukrainian punk band that got official permission from the surviving members of The Clash to use London Calling and make the song a anti-war song called Kiev Calling, which is it's a whole music video. It's quite fun. So if that intrigues you, it's I'm not sure if it's brilliant music, but it's interesting. And The Clash officially sanctioned the use of London Calling, which is the reason I'm mentioning it.
Okay, very good.
I think, Deep, you have your hand up. Is it for me or Doug?
Actually, for you, Jeff. Sorry, Doug, did I interrupt you?
No, please go ahead.
So, Jeff, I did notice that the global arbitration event, and that is incredible. Is there any chance we could kind of see video recordings or sign up after the fact? Is it?
Well, this will be, first of all, one of my calls right after this will be to start looking at the calendar for next year's California International Arbitration Week. But the programs that we have are currently available for the next 30 days.
Oh, good.
So if you go in, basically, if you register, you log in, there's a whole website, shows all the sponsors, all the programs, and they're all there. Almost all but one from London actually was recorded So there's a large number of, there's like probably 27 hours of incredible panels to watch. And I will tell you, some of the most amazing, impressive speakers on all areas were there. And I'm really personally proud. I was the co-chair of it, so I built this thing. So that's why I'm a little invested in it. But if you look at the speakers, putting aside their quality, it's probably one of the most diverse groups of speakers you'll ever see, which is a really important point for me, of diversity in all respects. And so we had, if you look at the program, it was, you know, a perfect model for diversity, empowerment of people of all, you know, backgrounds, ages, ethnicities, you name it. So genders, you know, it was a very important, I think, milestone in that way too. And I encourage, I'll put up a link to it. I believe you can still register. I should probably double check on that, but I'll assume so. But the programs, if you did register, are up for 30 days from last Friday at least. And among people, just to give you an idea of the significance, the welcome, which included all types of people, included a welcome from U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. And so it was a real quite amazing thing, especially for an inaugural event. We've never done it before. And the reason why it has California significance, I didn't mention, is, you know, for people who do business, and they do business in California in particular, right now, if you use international arbitration as your dispute mechanism, and if you ever had a dispute, more likely than not, your arbitration hearing will be in some other part of the world by agreement, not California. We don't get that many of them. We're trying to promote California to place, which means the negative of you can't even do your own disputes locally. And also it's a pro-business thing for California, because having more hearings here, even if they're administered by, you know, we had, you know, you name the international provider, they were involved in this program, China, Japan, all Europe, you name it. I can go, you'll see them all on the list. You can still have your hearings in California where we have a lot to offer, but it's a pro-business thing because a lot of business gets generated by arbitration hearings.
Got it.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll put those up in the chat, and thank you all for listening to me. And I'm going to have to go mute for one moment just because my wife calling. So
very, very good. Thank you. It's Deep. It's also up on the Global Chamber agenda. You can see it all week last week, and if you click on there, it'll probably take you all the way through. So thank you, Deep. Appreciate it. Going back to just a quick comment about Ukraine, we do have an event on the 31st, Thursday, week from Thursday, with some members of Global Chamber in Ukraine, and also a former advisor of President Zelensky, who I've met through one of our members. I talked to him over the weekend, and he's been on MSNBC and CNN and other news programs, Al Jazeera, et cetera. Really a very intelligent person, very well connected. He's, you know, physically in the fight. And so hopefully we'll be able to have that conversation on the 31st, and I encourage you to join in. Going back to just a quick comment by Jeff on the statement by Global Chamber, we do have one on our LinkedIn page, and we believe in, I would say, two things. Number one is the rule of law is important for trade. We want trade to happen, so the illegality of what's happening by Russia against Ukraine, from a trade perspective, is damaging and harmful. Above and beyond the death and destruction, you know, from a trade perspective, it's just not a good thing. And then secondly, we're just against violence and killing people and things like that. So that's all in the statement that we have on our LinkedIn page. And part of the reason why putting together the 31st event was, that was a month ago. It was like, let's keep doing business. And I've gotten actually some heat from people saying, oh, we shouldn't be doing business with Ukraine because they're fighting the war. And President Zelensky's advisor, who's speaking on a week from Thursday, I told him that, and he said, absolutely not. We should be doing trade. There's so many entrepreneurs on the ground there. They need money to survive. So he was very positive about the approach of business continuing. And coincidentally, one of our members, Compass North America, they published today a link to exporters from Ukraine, and we'll put that in our newsletter next week. And I hope we'll talk about that in our event on Thursday. So lot to package there. So lot going on. Sorry to give you way too much information probably, but hopefully that's helpful. Let's go to Deep next in terms of, I want to make sure everybody in LA knows Deep because he used to work at FedEx, and that's how we met each other about 10 years or so ago. Expert on export compliance and compliance and shipping in general. And now he has his own company. He's a recent recipient of the E Award. So he is just an expert exporter on everything about exporting. And Deep, could you just introduce yourself so everybody knows you, and then just let us know anything that we should know, any observations about the world or anything else that you would like to share.
Sounds great, Doug. I'll be very quick. I just want to say hi to all the familiar faces. I see Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Well, friends, as Doug said, before starting DSG Global, I worked for FedEx, where I managed their global customs consulting practice for over 12 years. And that was a phenomenal experience. But I joke, I had a child in my old age, and I had to cut down my travel. So now I'm based in San Francisco, where I've been for the last almost 20 years. And DSG Global is really an international trade consulting firm. We've been working with the US Commercial Service as part of the Northern California DEC for over 16 years. And this year, as Doug said, we were so humbled to receive the President's E Award for Export Service. And that really means that we want to continue our pro bono work, helping companies, mostly small and mid-sized companies, explore global markets. And what we do normally is, we help companies with import rules, export rules, but a lot of companies come to us for worldwide rules because of our network with trade professionals in other countries. In fact, just tomorrow, I'm speaking at an event. It's a big association in the Bay Area called PAEI, which is Professional Association for Exporters and Importers. And I'm talking about how trade compliance should be a collaborative effort, a shared responsibility where each of the departments, tax, accounting, purchasing, engineering, all have a role to play. So that's what I do. But nowadays, the Russian sanctions and the Belarusian sanctions is taking up a lot of time because companies want to know if their products are banned. We need to find out what their export control number is, whether their customer is a military end user. So it's keeping me these dark circles under my eyes. But yeah, that's just a very quick overview, Doug. I don't want to take up too much of time since we've got.
I appreciate it. We are going to try to get to all the members in the room during our hour, and we are going to wrap up by the end of the hour. So Deep, thank you very much. If any of you have business in the Bay Area, please let us know. We have an active chapter. I'll be in the Bay Area for almost all of April, including my birthday, which is April 9th. But Deep and I hopefully will be eating at our favorite Japanese restaurant in San Mateo, Maruyama Sushi. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. If you can break away from all those Russian sanctions, it would be absolutely. It would be awesome. Okay. So thank you very much. I see Sarita Jackson in the call, and with GRIIT, she just really a phenomenal supporter of exporting and with market research and strategies around exporting. Sarita, I know you've got a event coming up at Global Chamber where you're talking about market research and the value of that. Could you just give us a little bit of a glimpse of that and anything else you'd like to share today?
Sure. Okay, well, hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here today. And so as Doug mentioned, I'm Sarita Jackson with GRIIT, Global Research Institute of International Trade, and I look forward to presenting next Wednesday on customized market research and how to make your market research effective for your global expansion strategy. And so what I do is really help companies, or with GRIIT, we're the first step. That's what I usually tell the small, mid-sized companies, that we are really the first step before you even start to do anything. A lot of information is about what to do in the international trade process, whether you're importing or exporting. But our first step focuses on the research, on how do you get there and why. Because a lot of small, mid-sized companies, they either don't have the time to go through a lot of data, or they don't have access to a lot of data, because there's a lot out there that's not on the internet. So the in-depth data, real-time data, and they may not necessarily have the money to do a lot of this on their own, and they certainly don't have the money to do it incorrectly, to expand to the global market incorrectly. So what next week we'll focus on is what I mean when I say that we're the first step in helping companies, small, mid-sized companies, to develop a systematic approach to expanding to the global market, and starting with just identifying not just new markets, but identifying the right market for their product or service. And so just giving some basic tips on how to conduct research, what resources are out there, and what that research should look like so that it's effective in their global expansion strategy and planning.
Fantastic. That's on Wednesday, the 30th, I believe.
Yes.
Fantastic. Any observations about the current international business market that you'd like to share?
So, well, several different things. Of course, well, Deep already mentioned with everything going on with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but a lot of the work that I've worked with personally has been still dealing with China. That has been a huge issue because most of my clients are trying to figure out, and not just this year, but for the last several years, right, how to identify other markets, their sourcing strategy outside of China. So one of the things that I also focus on is I do come from international trade from a policy perspective, trade policies, trade agreements. So that's where a lot of times I talk about some of the new trade blocks that are forming that present opportunities as well. So that's one of the things. And then another one dealing with Africa, a humanitarian crisis that has been going on for the last 2 years, where anyone importing from certain countries from sub-Saharan Africa can no longer do so. So then now there are high tariff rates, for Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea, if anyone does business with those 3 countries.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. As long as you're mentioning about some of the countries, I see William Oker Min from Global Chamber Myanmar here. And some of you may know that with the junta that has taken over Myanmar, that trade basically has shut down. However, there's some good news there, where there is some trade going to be opening up next month. William, do you have the freedom to speak today or share anything about what's going on in Myanmar?
Hi, Doug. Thank you so much. Actually, it's a really good news to share, because starting from next month, with the current government opening up the travel restrictions and all the import and export, a lot of companies are resuming, and I'm also happy to share that we are like my company, we are going into commodity trading. Basically, we are planning to export a number of natural resources, and also primary resources such as like rubber, coppers, and so on. So basically, we're still in progress for that, but we will share more details in a few days. And
Very good. Thank you. Please leave your information in the chat. Are there any questions while we have William and going back to questions by anyone?
I do have one quick question for William.
Yes. Please go ahead.
And this could just be something we could talk about offline. I was curious when you were talking about opening up. Also, I was just curious your comments with the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership that took effect this year. And I know Myanmar is a part of that.
Actually, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it. Yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts were, how, how you're leveraging that to attract trade to Myanmar now that you're opening up.
Okay. So, okay, most of the experience has been made to like a region trade, India, China, and Southeast. What we but we are also important.
I'm not sure this is going to work, William. You're breaking up. Okay, but we lost William. We can handle that offline, Sarita, and I'll circle back with him by email and get a response for you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you couldn't hear him either, right? It wasn't.
No, I couldn't hear it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sometimes. So thank you very much. Let's go to Casey Branch, because Casey is the wine lawyer, and it turns out we're having a wine event in 2 days. And this is an event that kind of started in Global Chamber Spain, and it came up in the Global Chamber France a conversation we had recently with a virtual dining event in Paris. And then I think there were some other people that said, hey, let's do a wine event. And KC is one of 3 amazing speakers that we have. One lady who we've had in the past when we did a Bulgaria event in Sofia. She's actually from Romania. She'll be speaking about regional wines, Romanian and other regional wines. KC will be talking about what he'll tell you here in a moment. And then there was one other speaker who I'm blanking on. But KC, what are you hoping to do on Thursday? Thank you for being a speaker.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, are you in Austin today, or where are you? Are you back?
I'm in Austin. I'll be back in Napa on Monday.
Okay, very good. So you live in somewhere near San Luis Obispo, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So any world observations or anything else you'd like to share about what you're doing, or the event on Thursday, or anything else?
Well, yeah, so I'm going to give a short presentation on what wine law actually is and how I've made a career out of wine law and all the rules and regulations, and involves, constitutional amendments to prohibition, the 3-tier system, and all the crazy ways you can't sell wine. And then we'll talk a little bit about counterfeit wine as well. So it'll be fun. And it'll be a tune-up for my speech that I'm giving in Champaign in May.
Fantastic. How's South by Southwest going?
It's busy, but they had a shooting on Saturday. It's awful. There seems to be just violence everywhere. It's very scary. But everybody who's gone seems to enjoy it. I've been way too busy to attend. So I've got all my side meetings that I've been doing and everything else. So I haven't been to any of the main events.
Okay.
But
well, congratulations on your progress.
But those of you who are working at home and would like to attend on Thursday, it would be nice if you had a glass of wine to share with us all. So
it is 11 a.m. by the way, Casey, and some of us are, if we're in California time, or maybe a little more moderate in our drinking. It's not even 12 yet.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we start off those Napa Valley parties at 8 in the morning with Syrah and bacon.
I'll take the liberty of just sharing. Friday and Saturday, I actually am hosting an international group of lawyers in Healdsburg. And they're coming, including, this is just Americas, but have people also coming from Portugal, Canada, Mexico, and mostly East Coast. And I don't think many of them have been to Healdsburg or Sonoma County before, so it should be fun.
Do you have a full schedule, or do you want to go see one of my clients?
I got it already all organized.
All right.
I will tell you, it was a nightmare because nobody wants a group of more than 4 or 5 people for food or winery. But we're going to Ridge and Flanagan's on Saturday.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, private event at Flanagan's.
let's trade, because my daughter and her husband are always in Heldsburg. They were there last week, and like on Facebook with the food and the winery that they went to. So I'd love to compare notes with both of you. Thank you very much. Beautiful area, and just amazing. Some great places to go. Thanks for sharing. The other third speaker, by the way, at the wine event is Yuko Nakasone, who helps wine, especially rural wine companies, reach foreign markets. And she started with Spanish rural winemakers selling their wine into Japan, and she sold that through e-commerce. And so she's a localization technology expert, so she'll be talking a little bit about that. This, I think, will be the beginning of a series of programs that we do on the international wine market. It's a great excuse to drink wine at 11 a.m. Here on the West Coast. And so probably, I'm guessing every other month that we're going to be doing some sort of a wine event, because it's a good thing to do for the world. So thank you, Casey, for sharing that. I don't see. Oh, Maricela is on the call. So I was going to go to you, Christian, and Hermosillo, and I'll go to you next. But Maricela Carabello de Reguero, she is at the Port of LA, and there's been so much progress made. I've been watching the number of ships that are in kind of like on the water and in movement has been coming down dramatically. Congratulations on the progress. How's your life been? It probably has improved your life considerably as well. Do you have a moment to share a few things, Maricela?
Thank you, Doug. Yes, and things have been, we've been seeing some improvement, but probably you don't see as many ships just right off to shore. Because several months ago, we got in touch with our shipping lines, and because the ships are coming and they were just kind of loitering right outside our port waters, and obviously they're emitting emissions, we asked them, if they're getting here early, to wait 40 nautical miles out. So if you're on the coast, you're not seeing them. So we're kind of, and then as their queue comes up, then they're kind of coming into the breakwater, so they can come into berth. So that's been a huge improvement. It's also helped the improvement of the air. Last year, for those of you who are familiar with the Port of LA, we have a very rigorous environmental program. And we anticipate that last year, because we had so many ships just waiting offshore, that our air regulation emissions probably went up last year. We're predicting that because we had so many ships waiting, but now we have less ships waiting. And then Doug, can I share my screen, and I'll share with everyone? Yep.
You should be able to, yeah.
Great. Oops.
Thanks so much.
Right, you probably see many different presentations pop up, but this is the one that I want you guys to see. This is kind of our operations report as of yesterday. So you can see how many vessels, whoops, you guys still see it?
No, it disappeared. Oh, there it is.
There it is, okay. So you see how many vessels within 40 nautical miles heading to San Pedro. We're up to 3, so that's 33% over 10,000 TEUs. Vessels, so that means those 3 vessels are going to be ready to berth. Vessels that are holding or drifting or slow steaming heading to the San Pedro Bay ports, we have 44 out there. So those are the ones that you're not seeing. And so total that are incoming to the San Pedro Bay ports is 47. So now we're having we're able to handle more control over the ships that are coming in. But what we are seeing currently is the downline and the supply chain. So there is a long wait for containers that need to go to the Midwest to get a rail car. So the warehouses in the Midwest are a little bit backed up. So right now we're kind of increasing the number of containers that we're holding onto the terminals that are getting ready to go by rail, just because the locomotives aren't ready to take them to the Midwest. So you'll see where it says terminal update, where it says Pola dwell time. So we were down for, those are for truck pickups, but where you see on dock rail in the last 30 days, our dwell time has increased about 4.6 days. And it's that was the lowest, and now we're kind of getting up. So it's going to be like about 9 to 10 days Our peak was 13.4 during the worst of it. So those numbers are kind of going up. So that's kind of how we are in the supply chain. Also too, we made some improvements with kind of creating a fee for those folks who leave their containers too long on the terminal. They'll get a fine. Just the threat of the fine has moved enough containers off our terminals, which has been helpful. But right now, the Midwest is feeling the crunch and not enough rail is moving those containers. So happy to take any questions if anybody has any operational questions or any other questions regarding the port.
Probably a few questions from the audience. I have a quick question before anybody else asks one. In terms of what's happening in China, given first the holiday, now with COVID, how do you see this affecting the port?
Well, during the Chinese New Year was kind of a nice reprieve because China does shut down, most of Asia does shut down. So we were able to kind of get caught up on some of the containers that were still on dock, getting them picked up by trucks and getting them moved out by rail. Now that they are back to working and the ships are starting to come in, we're seeing an increase of cargo going back to normal. And right now, what the issue is the rail. The rail isn't able to move those containers that are going to the Midwest just because there's a supply issue in the warehousing space that's in the Midwest.
Got it. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Any questions for Maricela, please? Don't be shy. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, Doug, I have a question.
Kim?
Maricela, how much control does the Port of LA have over the ships and the trucks that are emitting harmful emissions and pollution and toxic gases into the not only water, but the air?
Quite a bit. So back in 2005, we enacted our Cleaner Action Plan. So it sets regulations for the types of vessels that can call at our port. Just to give you one example, I think it's about 85 or 86% of the vessels that call our port, when they come into harbor and they dock or they park, they plug into shoreside electrical power. So they turn off their bunker fuel engines, shut off, and they connect to our grid. And that's a good percentage of 86% that are doing shoreside power. Similar with trucks, only clean trucks can come into the port. There's a standard that we utilize. Also with locomotives, the greenest, cleanest locomotives are the ones that are coming into our basin and moving the containers by rail.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so and if you're interested in our environmental program, I encourage you to, if you visit our website, we post our emissions. So you can see what's coming in under what guises. You can see the emissions coming from, trucks, from locomotives, from ships, and you can see our air quality index.
Okay, great.
Ken has a technology, his company has a technology to reduce emissions and reduce the use of fuel too. So there may be a connection here. Are you guys already connected to the port, Ken?
No. We've been, as an 18-month startup, we're in our first stage, and we are now launching pilot programs with municipalities and states all over the country.
Okay, and you're based in near San Diego.
Correct.
Okay, so it could be a good fit.
Yeah.
Maricela, for someone like that who has a technology, what would your recommendation be? Is there some particular place, or should we just handle this offline?
Feel free to send me an email, Ken, and then I'll connect you with our environmental team. Maybe we can schedule like a Zoom meeting with them, and you can talk about your technology and see if there's a fit for it, because we are a test bed of technology. So like right now we're testing Toyota hydrogen fuel cell trucks. And we're testing them to see how they function in a normal work basin with pulling the containers, having, be able to pull those trucks, going over the bridges and getting on the highways and going to the Inland Empire. So we are testing a lot of new technologies here.
Great. Yeah, Doug can connect us, and I'll send you some information. We'll set something up. Appreciate it. Thank you, Maricela. Okay.
Everybody should follow the Port of LA and LinkedIn. They have a really active account great pictures of the port and the bridge, and it's just really, really inspiring if you love the water and you love the sea. And they're very detailed about the environmental impact that they're creating and improving. So definitely check that out. Any other questions? Oh, maybe
I'll just throw out, Doug, that one of the events that we talked about earlier that we were hoping to be able to do with the assistance of the port would be a port tour for Global Chamber and a briefing session at their administration offices, right, Marcel? So that's one of the things we'll work on once you guys are doing boat tours.
We haven't fully launched back in since the pandemic. We've been very cautious about bringing folks into the building, but I am looking forward to the day where we can host a group from Global Chamber, bring you down to our boardroom. We can do kind of a Port 101 on operations and put you on a boat. And the boat tour is an hour and a half. Doug, I believe you've taken it, and you really do see the ships up close and personal. It's the best way to see our port. It does take an hour and a half, and the reason it does is because that's how large we are. So, I know you're up north, the Port of Oakland, but the entire Port of Oakland moves, just one of our terminals moves. So just for size and scale, we're moving over 10 million TEUs a year.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for asking that. Thank you, Maricela. We're looking forward to that. It's amazing. And I guess I'm just a boat freak or something. It's just really an extraordinary tour. And for all of you, whether you're in the Los Angeles area or beyond, when that gets scheduled, we'd love to have you all. We'll need to keep going because we want to finish it on time, and there's several members that we want to make sure we get to. But for the remaining folks, when you speak, try to keep it to certainly no more than 2 minutes, and maybe about a minute. Just introduce yourself and make any comments. The next person, since we're talking about ports, is Christian Aguirre, who's our Global Chamber Executive Director in Hermosillo, Mexico, the nearest port being Guaymas, fairly famous port, although Christian, I don't think it's in the top 10 in Mexico. I was speaking with a new chapter of Global Chamber in Manzanilla, which is the number 1 or number 2 port in Mexico, in the state of Colima. Thank you for speaking with Sam and Enrique, and he was very excited about Global Chamber, and we're looking forward to not just setting up in that port, but he wants to do a Global Chamber in all the major ports of Mexico. So I was getting a primer on what are these ports. I've never heard of any of them. So it's kind of cool. Thank you, Christian. You are the executive director there. You're also involved with many different products. Could you just give a quick 1 minute intro?
Thank you so much, Doc. I'm very excited to make these connections and be here with you. Christian Aguirre from Hermosillo, Mexico. We represent the Northwest region of Mexico. And we are very happy to have many members in Mexico that can provide services or products. Right now, I have a couple of members that are connected, that are NetCodex with Arturo Herrera and Rodolfo Holguin, which they do IT services. And also we have Collectron, represented by Armida Navarro, which they do other types of very interesting services like offshoring into Mexico and making all those capacities for production. I'm having some outside noises come join me, but yeah, it's like the ice cream truck coming through.
Can I get a popsicle?
Anybody want some? Yeah, sorry about that. But also involved in other types of projects like export of products from Mexico. From the Sea of Cortez, we export salt into Phoenix, where we package it, and we have a brand that is True South, and there our friend Thierry is showing the products, True South. Thank you so much, Thierry, for showing it. And it's become really, really popular in the US, and we're very excited about it. Also, other projects being involved. I like to look for products from the US that I can bring into Mexico and the other way around. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian. You mentioned 2 different members in Sonora, and I'd like to make sure we cover both. And Armida is actually in Mexico City, but the Collectron started in the state of Sonora. It's the oldest shelter company, over 50 years old, in Mexico, and that business is booming. And that business is booming because companies are looking to manufacture in North America, not in China, relatively speaking. And Mexico is getting most of that business. And so a lot of it is going to Collectron. Armida, thank you for joining us today. Are you in Mexico City? And could you just give a quick less than minute introduction?
Sure. Hi, Doug. I'm currently in Hermosillo and I'm driving to Nogales right after this meeting. We have a visit of a potential client tomorrow. So yeah, my name is Armida Navarro and I represent Collectron International Management. We help international companies establish their manufacturing operations. We have several divisions in the state of Sonora and one more in central Mexico in Querétaro. We basically assist these foreign companies with all the admin services, and they are all under our umbrella. They are not the legal entity in Mexico. We are, so we represent them. So we assist them with all the human resources, training, environmental compliance, US Customs, Mexican Customs, accounting, and others. So we let them focus on their core business, which is manufacturing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And so definitely check out Collectron. I think Arturo Herrera is a pioneer in the nearshoring business. And I've used this example many times around the world, how many of us have used Indian IT resources and had mixed results, sometimes great, sometimes not so great. That's been improving over time. But one of the great advancements within North America in the last 15 years is nearshoring IT resources out of Mexico, less expensive and very capable. And Arturo runs a company there. Arturo, thank you for joining. Could you give us a quick less than minute introduction, please?
Hi, Doug. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, we are Nicodex and we are a nearshoring software development company. We are mostly focused on IT nearshoring, helping US companies to build teams, remote teams here in Hermosillo. We have a team of around 50 people that we are currently managing for some clients in California and San Diego. We are mostly focusing in fintech companies. Our biggest client is one of the biggest fintech companies that are currently based in San Diego. And we have a team of almost 30 people working for them remotely, fully remote, and we are managing all the team here in Hermosillo. And we are expecting to grow the team for 100 people this year. So we are very excited to get around with this year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Rodolfo, are you also with an IT company? Are you a member of Global Chamber? I think you are, aren't you?
He's my partner, actually. He's my partner from Nicodex, yeah.
Thank you very much. So Nicodex, N-E-C-O-D-E-X. So thank you. I appreciate that. I actually was going to call on Rodolfo earlier, and then I saw you join. So I got confused. It's easy.
No, thank you very much.
I'm glad you guys were. I love the whole approach. I love what these guys do and so much positive feedback from their work. It's definitely worthwhile checking out. Let's go to Elizabeth Glynn. Elizabeth is in LA. She's an exporting expert. She's been involved with helping companies be very successful internationally, and she's been involved with the E Award as well. Elizabeth, what's your perspective? Is there anything that you'd like to share today? Anything we should be thinking about right now?
Thank you for the opportunity. The bottom line is companies still have needs, so there's opportunity. I work with primarily manufacturers across industry sectors, aerospace, automotive, electronics, medical device, the whole 9 yards, and basically to position them so that they can be better exporters and grow their business. So and there's tremendous opportunity. So that said, I will also share, I'm working with a company right now that's looking to expand their operations in Mexico. Mexico is a recipient of a lot of direct investment right now. It's amazing. And there's so much opportunities for our US companies for supplying manufacturers in Mexico, because there's significant needs there. but also for nearshoring and component supplying for our needs as well.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. I want to make sure I get to Valerie Sue and to Brian, and also I thought there was somebody else. Brian, why don't we go to you next? You know, Brian helps with on the financial side. And are you in LA today, or are you in Chicago? Where are you based, and how can we help you? Anything you'd like to share today?
Yeah, hi, Brian Rush, president of World Trade Finance. So I actually sit in the Chicago area, but World Trade Finance is based out of the Los Angeles area. We've been an export trade finance SBA lender for 25 years or so. I joined about 6 years ago and took over recently. So just trying to expand knowledge about the SBA's export trade working capital programs for businesses, small businesses, to help them finance the export trade that requires cash up front, but maybe they're not getting paid for 90 to 120 days. And that's something we can certainly help with, and it's government backed, so pretty good pricing, and we can lend against foreign AR, which a lot of banks won't touch. We can lend at the point of purchase order to help go out and purchase the necessary materials or items for the order for an export, and we can lend against inventory as well.
Thank you for sharing. Valerie Sue, thanks for what you do. I love rhyming. And is there anything that you'd like to share? Any perspectives right now?
To be honest, not necessarily. I just,
Okay.
I wanted to introduce myself kind of. I'm actually in the Austin area. I did finish South by Southwest. I am exhausted. There's a lot of movement. Unfortunately, yes, there was a shooting on Saturday. But that was kind of more towards the end of the event. So, hopefully majority of the people that attended, I do believe are safe and probably back home by now. Although there was a tornado warning yesterday in Texas. So a lot of flights were pushed back. And I mean, nonetheless, I do still hope everyone got home safe. Briefly introduce myself. Hello, my name is Valerie. I am back and forth between California and Austin. I do have my own business where I export and import MCT oil, which is coconut oil from the Philippines, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. I work with CPG companies nationwide here in the US, as well as anywhere international, UK, Canada, South America, Southeast Asia. I really don't limit to my abilities to working with anybody. I'm also representing Cannabis Report, and they are based out of UK. So they are now kind of the more prominent type of prohibition type professional company representing the cannabis industry, kind of showing statistics on the cannabis industry and how the industry is growing, and statistics based on, how it really is more of a medicinal product and helpful for our biological health, as opposed to kind of the skewed jargon we've been seeing kind of, as it's been marketed, for several decades now. But nonetheless, yes, nice to meet everyone that I haven't met. And thank you, Doug, for the intro.
Thank you very much. We only have 2 to 3 minutes left. I want to make sure we get to Mona Contractor because she's in India and it's early morning there, very early. Mona, I'd like to ask you to do about a minute, no more, and then we're going to go to Jeff Daar, who'll close it down because we have another event that starts in 2 minutes. It's a women's financial stability conversation out of Global Chamber Atlanta. Mona, are you there? And could you just at least introduce yourself? Maybe put your information in the chat.
Thank you so much, Doug. And yes, it's early morning. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. So I'm Mona from Mumbai, and I'm into two businesses. One is travel that has just begun in India, and the other one is my food manufacturing business. So I won't take much time, Doug, but anybody can connect with me on my details that I'm sharing on the chat, and happy to connect with all. Thank you.
And Deep is on the line, who we've
connected. Hi,
so,
Deep. Hi, Deep.
So we're Deep, you and I, we're gonna taste what she's sending to us when I'm there in April.
Mona and I'll be reaching out to you on your question. Thanks.
Oh, sure. And do share your address so I can send it to you.
Okay.
Jeff, could you close us down? Because I really appreciate you kicking us off, and I appreciate everybody. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for all that you do. Keep the faith. The world will get back into balance, hopefully within our lifetime and hopefully within this year. That would be awesome. Jeff, any closing comments?
Oh, join us in really starting to develop a community. In the community, you know, we're global, so the community is maybe Southern California region, but we want everybody to be part of it. And there's a lot we can do. I'll share that not that long ago, Elizabeth and I put together a all-day program called, if I recall, Business Without Borders, and it was focused on Southern California exporters and how to sit here and start doing international exporting. So there's a lot of things we can do. Let's do it. Let's make it all of us. Let's have fun doing it. And I look forward to working with everybody. And again, reach out to Doug or myself if you'd like to learn more about what's really expected if you get on the advisory board. Mostly it's just want to be a part of it and just, you know, not if you're going to join, be active. That's all we want. So we want a lot of different walks of life as to different, you know, businesses and interests and connections and so on. So we can all help each other and grow.
That event, the advisory board, is April 26th, and watch out for lots of other events like Global Chamber, over 600 this year, and including that Ukraine event. There's one on Africa tomorrow. There's always something. And then the event I mentioned that's starting right now at Global Chamber Atlanta for women's financial independence. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.